I'm Sarah Chen, and I watched a man put a gun to a bank teller's head on a Tuesday morning in March. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't have known, was that the man holding that gun was more terrified than any of us. And the people who were really in control, they were watching me through cameras I'd never see, taking notes on my routine, learning the route I walked my daughter to school. I thought surviving the robbery was the hard part. I was wrong. The hard part was surviving what came after. It was 9:47 a.m. I remember because I just checked my phone, annoyed that the line wasn't moving. First National Bank on Riverside. 3 tellers, maybe 12 people waiting. The air conditioning was broken and someone's perfume was giving me a headache. I was there to deposit a check for my freelance design work, $800 that would barely cover groceries and my daughter Emma's field trip fee. That's when the door chimed. He walked in wearing a gray hoodie, jeans, and white Nikes that squeaked on the tile. I noticed because he kept his hands in his pockets and his hood up, which seemed weird for a 70-degree day. He got in line behind me. I could hear him breathing, fast, shallow, like he'd been running. Then he moved. Not toward the tellers, toward the side door marked employees only. And before anyone could react, he pulled out a black semi-automatic pistol and aimed it at the nearest teller, a young woman, maybe 22, with red hair and a ponytail. Everyone on the floor, now. His voice cracked. That's what I remember most. Not rage, fear. People screamed. An older man beside me dropped his briefcase. I hit the floor so hard my palms burned against the cold tile. My phone was still in my hand. I wanted to call Emma's school, tell them I'd be late picking her up, tell them I loved her. Open the drawer. All the cash. No die packs. The teller's hand shook so badly she dropped the bills twice. He kept looking at the door, not like he was worried about police, like he was worried about someone else coming in. That's when I made my mistake. I looked up. Our eyes met for less than 3 seconds, but it was enough. I saw his face fully. Olive skin, dark eyes, a small scar above his left eyebrow shaped like a fishhook. He was young, maybe 25, and he looked like he wanted to cry. "Eyes down," he shouted. I dropped my gaze, but it was too late. He knew I'd seen him. He grabbed the cash, maybe $3,000, stuffed into a grocery bag, and ran. The door chimed again. Someone sobbed. A security guard who'd been in the bathroom came running out, but the guy was already gone. Police arrived in 4 minutes. Paramedics checked everyone for shock. A detective named Ramos took my statement in the parking lot while I sat on the curb, hands still shaking. "Did you see his face?" Ramos asked. I nodded. "Clearly." He pulled out a tablet. "We're going to show you some photos. Take your time." I identified him in 11 seconds. His name was Marcus Delgado, 26 years old, no prior record. He worked as a line cook at a diner 2 miles from the bank. The detective's eyebrows went up when I pointed at his photo. "You're sure?" "Positive. The scar above his left eye." Ramos nodded slowly. "Thank you, Miss Chen. You may have just closed this case." He gave me his card, told me I'd probably be called as a witness if it went to trial. I drove to Emma's school in a daze, picked her up 20 minutes late, and held her so tight she asked if I was okay. "I'm fine, baby. Just a long day." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Marcus's face, the fear in his eyes. That wasn't a career criminal. That was someone desperate. But I pushed it away. He'd held a gun to someone's head. Whatever his reasons, he'd made a choice. 3 days later, I got a call from Detective Ramos. "We arrested Delgado this morning. He's being charged with armed robbery. You'll need to testify at the preliminary hearing." "When?" 2 weeks. I agreed. What else could I do? But that night, something happened that should have been my first warning. I was making dinner when Emma called from the living room. "Mom, there's a car outside." "What kind of car?" "Black. It's just sitting there." I looked out the window. A black Dodge Charger with tinted windows, parked 3 houses down, engine running. No one got out. It sat there for 11 minutes. I timed it. Then it drove away. I told myself it was nothing. Neighbor's friend, delivery driver on a break. But 2 nights later, the same car was back. The preliminary hearing was held in a gray courthouse that smelled like floor polish and stress. I wore a navy dress and flats. My hands wouldn't stop sweating. Marcus Delgado sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed. He looked smaller than I remembered, thinner. His public defender was a tired-looking woman in her 40s who kept shuffling papers. When I took the stand, the prosecutor asked me to describe what I saw. I did, clearly, calmly. I pointed at Marcus when asked to identify him. "Let the record show the witness has identified the defendant, Marcus Delgado." Marcus stared at the table. He didn't look at me once. But someone else did. In the back row, partially hidden behind a pillar, sat a man in a black leather jacket. Shaved head, tattoo on his neck. I couldn't make out the design from that distance. He watched me the entire time I testified. When I stepped down, he left immediately. I told Detective Ramos in the hallway. Did you recognize him? No. Could be a family member? Friend? We'll look into it. He didn't sound concerned, but I was. That night, the black Charger was back. This time it parked directly across from my house. I called the police. By the time they arrived 15 minutes later, it was gone. Ma'am, unless they're on your property or making threats, there's not much we can do, the officer said. Someone's watching my house. Do you have proof? Photos? Plate number? I didn't. I'd been too scared to go outside. The officer gave me a sympathetic look and left. I started documenting everything. I bought a notebook, read, spiral bound, and wrote down every time I saw the car. Dates, times, duration. I took photos with my phone, but the tinted windows made it impossible to see inside. Day 4, black Charger, 8:15 p.m., 9 minutes. Day 7, black Charger, 6:42 a.m., stayed until I left for Emma's school. Day 9, different car, gray sedan, 10:30 p.m. I also started noticing other things. A man in a black hoodie at the grocery store who seemed to be in the same aisles as me. A woman on a bench near Emma's school who I'd seen 3 days in a row. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I was right. I called Detective Ramos again. Detective, I think someone's following me. Miss Chen, I understand this has been stressful. I'm not imagining it. There's a car outside my house almost every night. Silence. Then, have they approached you? Made contact? No. Then I'm not sure what you want me to do. I want protection. I'm a witness in a criminal case. You testified at a preliminary hearing. Delgado's not connected to any organized groups. He's just a guy who made a bad decision. You're safe. But I didn't feel safe. I met Rebecca Torres by accident. She was a legal advocate at a victim services nonprofit downtown. I'd called their hotline after the 5th sleepless night, desperate for someone to take me seriously. She agreed to meet me for coffee. Rebecca was in her early 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes that didn't miss anything. She listened to everything, the car, the man in the courtroom, the feeling of being watched, without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back and sighed. You're not paranoid. You believe me? I've seen this before. Not often, but enough. Tell me about Marcus Delgado. What do you know about him? Just what I saw. He looked scared, like he didn't want to be there. Rebecca pulled out her laptop. Mind if I do some digging? She ran searches while I sat there, my coffee going cold. After 10 minutes, she turned the screen toward me. Marcus Delgado, no prior arrests, dropped out of community college 2 years ago, works at Rosie's Diner, lives in a studio apartment in Ridgeview. That's gang territory, specifically the East Side Kings. My stomach dropped. Gang territory? Doesn't mean he's in a gang, but if someone wanted leverage over him. She pulled up another page. Look at this. His younger brother, Luis Delgado, arrested 6 months ago for possession with intent to distribute. He's 17, currently in juvenile detention awaiting trial. You think someone threatened his brother? I think it's possible. Rebecca closed her laptop. Here's what I know about witness intimidation. If someone wants you silent, they don't always make direct threats. They watch, they follow, they make you feel unsafe. And if you stop cooperating, the surveillance stops. I can't just drop the case. He robbed a bank. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you need to protect yourself. Document everything, get cameras for your house, vary your routine, and if anything escalates, you call me immediately. She gave me her cell number, wrote it on a napkin. Why are you helping me? Because I've seen what happens when witnesses don't get help, and because someone has to. The escalation happened fast. 2 days after meeting Rebecca, I found a note on my car windshield. No envelope, just a folded piece of paper tucked under the wiper blade. It said, "People who talk get hurt." Block letters. Printed. No signature. I called Rebecca immediately. She told me to photograph it, bag it, and report it to police. I did. Detective Ramos finally seemed concerned. We'll dust for prints. We'll increase patrols in your area. That's it? Miss Chen, I can't assign you to protective custody based on an anonymous note. Someone's threatening me. The note doesn't specify who it's from or what it's about. I wanted to scream. That night, I installed 2 security cameras, one on the front porch, one on the driveway. They were cheap, but they worked. I also changed Emma's school drop-off routine. Instead of walking, I drove. Different route every day. 3 days later, my car was keyed. Deep, deliberate scratches along the driver's side. It happened in the grocery store parking lot in daily broad light. The cameras there were broken, had been for weeks, according to the manager. Then my work started to disappear. I was a freelance graphic designer. Most of my clients came through referrals. But suddenly, 3 projects were canceled in 1 week. No explanation, just, we've decided to go in a different direction. I called one of them, a small business owner I'd worked with for 2 years. Is everything okay? I asked. Long pause. Sarah, someone called my office. They said you were unreliable, that you'd stolen from previous clients. That's a lie. I know, but I can't risk it. I'm sorry. She hung up. Someone was destroying my reputation. Rebecca helped me file a formal complaint with the DA's office. We laid out everything, the surveillance, the note, the keying, the sabotaged work. The assistant DA, a sharp woman named Kim Patel, listened carefully. This is concerning, she admitted, but here's the problem. We can't prove any of this is connected to the Delgado case. Who else would it be? That's not how the law works. We need evidence of a direct threat or connection to an organized group. Right now, all we have is circumstantial. So I'm supposed to just wait until they hurt me? Kim's expression softened. I'm going to request a protection order. It won't guarantee anything, but it'll create a legal record, and I'll talk to Ramos about increasing police presence. It wasn't enough, but it was something. The twist came from the most unexpected source. Marcus Delgado's public defender called me. Miss Chen, my name is Diane Foster. I'm representing Marcus Delgado. I need to speak with you. I can't talk to you. You're his lawyer. I know, but please, just 10 minutes. It's about your safety. We met at a park bench near the courthouse. Diane looked exhausted. She handed me a folder. I shouldn't be showing you this, but Marcus is terrified, and after what's been happening to you, I think you deserve to know. I opened the folder. Inside were printed screenshots of text messages sent to Marcus's phone from an unknown number. You owe us. Do the job or Luis pays. Bank on Riverside, Tuesday, 9:45 a.m. In and out, no one gets hurt. If you talk to police, your brother dies in jail. We have people inside. There were photos, too, of Luis in detention. Close-ups. Taken from inside the facility. Oh my God, I whispered. Marcus didn't want to rob that bank, Diane said. He was blackmailed. The Eastside Kings have connections everywhere, including inside juvenile detention. They told him if he didn't do it, they would kill Luis, and if he told anyone, same result. Why didn't he tell police? Because he doesn't trust police. His cousin was killed by a cop in a traffic stop 3 years ago, no charges filed, and because he's terrified that cooperating will get his brother killed. I stared at the messages. Who sent these? We don't know. The number's a burner, untraceable, but Marcus thinks it's someone high up in the Kings, someone with enough power to access detention facilities and threaten inmates. Why are you telling me this? Diane leaned forward. Because whoever blackmailed Marcus is now targeting you. You're the star witness. If you refuse to testify or recant your statement, the case falls apart. That's what they want. So they're not trying to hurt me, they're trying to scare me. For now. But if intimidation doesn't work, she didn't finish the sentence. I felt sick. What do I do? Testify. But we need to get this evidence to the DA. If we can prove Marcus was coerced, he might get a reduced sentence or even protection. And if the police can identify who's behind the blackmail, they can arrest them. Will Marcus cooperate? If we can guarantee his brother's safety, that's the hard part. Kim Patel, the assistant DA, moved fast when she saw the messages. Within 48 hours, Luis Delgado was transferred to a different facility under protective custody. Marcus was moved to a separate unit in county jail, and the FBI was brought in. Agent Carla Ruiz was mid-40s, no nonsense, and had been tracking the Eastside Kings for 3 years. They're not just a street gang anymore, she explained in a conference room at the federal building. They've expanded into extortion, human trafficking, and drug distribution. They have dirty cops on payroll, judges, even a few corrections officers. How do we stop them? I asked. We need Marcus to testify, not just about the robbery, about who blackmailed him. If he can identify the person who sent those texts, we can work our way up the chain. And what about me? You're still our witness, but now you're also bait. I blinked. Excuse me? Carla leaned forward. If they think you're going to testify, they'll keep trying to intimidate you. But now, we'll be watching. We've installed covert surveillance around your house. Undercover agents are monitoring known gang members. If anyone makes a move, we'll catch them. You want to use me as bait. I want to catch the people threatening you. This is the best way. I thought about Emma, about the fear I'd been carrying for weeks, about Marcus forced into a robbery he didn't want to commit. Okay, I said, but if anything happens to my daughter, nothing will happen to her. I have my word. The trial was set for 6 weeks later. In that time, I lived in a strange state of hypervigilance. I saw agents I wasn't supposed to see, a woman jogging past my house at the same time every morning, a man reading a newspaper in a parked car. The black Charger came back twice. Both times, agents followed it. Both times, it led to a chop shop in Ridgeview. Then, 1 week before trial, they made their move. I was walking to my car after dropping Emma at school when a man approached me. Shaved head, neck tattoo. The same man from the courtroom. Sarah Chen? I froze. We need to talk. An FBI agent appeared from nowhere, the jogger from my street. Step away from her, now. The man raised his hands. Just delivering a message. What message? The man smiled. Drop the case, or the kids next. He was arrested on the spot, charged with witness intimidation and making terroristic threats. His name was Victor Ruiz, high-ranking member of the East Side Kings, and under interrogation, he broke. He gave up names, locations, bank accounts, the entire blackmail operation, including the name of the man at the top. The trial was the most surreal week of my life. Marcus Delgado took the stand and told his story. The blackmail, the threats, the fear. He cried when he talked about his brother. I testified too, but this time I wasn't just identifying the gunman. I was explaining why he did it. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Marcus was convicted of armed robbery, but with mitigating circumstances. The judge sentenced him to 5 years with credit for time served and eligibility for parole in 2. Mr. Delgado, you made a terrible choice, but you were put in an impossible situation. I hope you use this time to rebuild your life. But the real victory came 6 months later. Victor Ruiz, facing 30 years, testified against the gang's leadership. The FBI arrested 14 people, including 2 corrections officers and a police sergeant who'd been feeding information to the Kings. The man at the top, the one who'd ordered Marcus's blackmail, was a 48-year-old businessman named Carlos Medina. On paper, he ran a chain of auto shops. In reality, he controlled half of criminal activity in the county. He was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Kim Patel called me the day the verdict came in. You did it, Sarah. You didn't back down. And because of that, we took apart an entire criminal network. But there were consequences. I lost half my client base. My name was in the news too much. People didn't want the drama. Emma had nightmares for months. She'd ask if the bad men were coming back. I'd hold her and lie and say no. And Marcus? He wrote me a letter from prison. Miss Chen, I'm sorry for what I put you through. I was a coward, but you were brave. Thank you for not giving up. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be better. Marcus. I never wrote back. I didn't know what to say. 4 years later, I'd rebuilt my business under a new name. Emma was in middle school, thriving. We'd moved to a different neighborhood, one with better schools and no black Chargers. I thought I'd never hear about Marcus Delgado again. Then I got a call from Agent Carla Ruiz. Sarah, I need to tell you something. Marcus is being released next month. Early parole for good behavior and cooperation. Okay. He wants to meet you. He has something to give you. I don't think that's a good idea. Trust me, you'll want to hear this. We met at a coffee shop downtown, neutral ground. Marcus looked different. Older, stronger. He'd gotten his GED in prison, started taking college courses. He slid a folder across the table. What is this? I asked. Proof. Inside were documents, financial records, photos, text logs. For the past 3 years, I've been working with the FBI as an informant, helping them track remaining gang activity, and we found something. Another operation, bigger than the first. He pointed to a photo, a man in a suit. That's Carlos Medina's brother, Hector. He's been running things while Carlos is in prison, and he's been planning something big. The FBI is moving on him next week, but they wanted you to know. Because of what you did 4 years ago, we're taking down the rest of the network, all of it. I stared at the documents. Why are you showing me this? Because you saved my life. When you testified, you told them the truth. You didn't paint me as a monster. You told them I was blackmailed, and because of that, I got a second chance. Now I'm using it to make sure no one else gets forced into what I did. He stood to leave, then paused. My brother, Luis, he's in college now, pre-law. He wants to be a public defender, help people like us. None of that happens if you don't testify. The FBI raided Hector Medina's operations on a Thursday morning. They arrested 23 people, seized $12 million in assets. The news called it the largest gang takedown in state history, and buried in the press release was a line, "In thanks to the cooperation of a confidential informant and evidence provided by witnesses in the 2021 Delgado case." Rebecca Torres called me that night. Did you see the news? Yeah. You know what this means? You didn't just survive, you changed everything. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt tired, relieved, but also something else. Proud. A week later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a journal, leather-bound, expensive, and a note. For the woman who didn't give up. MD. I opened the journal. The first page had a single line written in Marcus's handwriting. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing even when you're terrified. I still think about that Tuesday in March. The gray hoodie, the squeaking Nikes, the fear in Marcus's eyes. But now I also think about what came after. The FBI raids, the convictions, Luis in college, Marcus getting a second chance. Sometimes survival isn't just about making it through the moment. It's about what you do with the time you're given after. I survived a bank robbery, but more than that, I survived the people who tried to silence me, and that's a different kind of victory.